Welcome to Television Sydney News. I'm Bianca Martins. It's great to have you with us. In the news this week, a conservation lobby group tries to stop feral animal shooting in national parks, Penrith rebrands itself as the New West, and a Western Sydney dog predicts the winners of the Euro Cup. But first, a conservation group has come out strongly against the state government's decision to allow shooting in national parks. Blue Mountains Conservation Society Vice President Tara Cameron says members are urged to write to Premier Barry O'Farrell and local MP Rosa Sage, expressing their disappointment that shooters will be allowed into 79 of the state's parks, nature reserves and conservation areas. She said the group was appalled at the government's decision.
How can you have people with guns wandering around and say that anybody else in the park at that time is safe? I think that's a call that just goes beyond what is really legitimately possible.
Mr O'Farrell defended the policy, saying shooters would not be allowed into World Heritage areas like the Blue Mountains.
What is happening in 79 out of 799 parks and reserves across the state is additional efforts to reduce the number of feral animals that not only destroy habitat, not only destroy native animals, but also affect adjoining farms. This is a sensible conservation policy that restricted, supervised programs of feral eradication, including shooting of ferals, which has been happening for decades, continues under the supervision of the National Parks and Wildlife Service.
Ms Cameron said if the government was serious about animal control, the policy would be implemented across the state, regardless of World Heritage status.
The reason it's not happening here is because it's not about feral animal control. It's about what deal you had to do with the Shooters Party to get through your electricity privatisation.
Ms Cameron says significant cuts to the budget means there are not enough staff to supervise the hunting. There has been a call for mandatory pre-commitment of late taxi fares to be introduced to avoid tragedies like the death of Engadin's Jeremy Novotny. This week's inquest into the 21-year-old's death found he died of severe head injuries after he jumped from a taxi to avoid paying a fare in 2010. Deputy Coroner Paul McMahon said the driver's actions did not amount to dangerous driving or failing to render assistance. Mr Novotny's father, Vlasta, said he has been devastated by the ruling and felt the man who killed his son had got away with it. Mr McMahon said the state government should mandate the prepayments of taxi fares between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. A proposed liquor store at Ropes Crossing Shopping Centre has alarmed residents and stirred a wave of concern through the community. The local Community Safety Committee believes the bottle shop could lead to an increase in antisocial behaviour and crime. Residents at Rochford Place Retirement Village have started a petition against the store. The company behind the proposal says it will look at the community response before deciding whether or not to go ahead. Extra police officers will patrol roads in Camden and Wollondilly as part of an operation to tackle the region's increasing road toll. The Camden Local Area Command is ranked second in the state for the number of road deaths. 13 people have died on the road since May last year. Camden Police says there will be at least 2 extra highway patrol vehicles in the area every day for the next 3 months, as well as additional officers on bicycles. Nurses from Nepean Hospital are threatening to campaign against Penrith MP Stuart Ayres over proposed changes to workers' compensation. The nurses want the MP to vote against the legislation that will have the number of weeks they can take sick leave on full pay to 13. Mr Ayres says unless the scheme is reformed, it will become unviable to help injured employees get back to work. Penrith has rebranded itself as Sydney's New West with a bright new look. Christina Pollard reports.
Premier Barry O'Farrell was on hand to help shine the spotlight on Penrith during the launch of its new logo on Friday. Inspired by mapping symbols, the P-shaped Penrith is Here logo is designed to drive jobs and economic investment in the city.
Jobs are the key to people's lives, but what's the key about this program is that Penrith Council understands that they need to be noticed, and that's what's great about this Penrith is Here brand. It can't be missed, and it sums up all the good things that exist here.
With 2/3 of the city's workforce leaving every day to work, Penrith Mayor Greg Davies said something had to be done to keep people in the area.
We've got a problem that we've known about for quite some time, and that is that the jobs growth is not the equivalent of the population growth, so we need more and more jobs out here. And one of the ways of achieving that is to, we believe, is to market the city as a place with a can-do attitude, a place where you can come, a place where it be should be on your lips if you think about setting up a business or moving a business from inner city.
It's about telling everyone, not just locals, but people right across New South Wales, right across the country and right across the globe, that Penrith really is here. If you want to live here, if you want to work here, if you want to play here, then we've got something to offer you.
Penrith is here!
A photo competition on social media site Facebook showed the bright orange pea being displayed everywhere from exotic overseas locations to a shark tank. The Penrith Panthers even got into the spirit, spraying the big pea on their home ground and winning both games. This is Christina Pollard reporting for Television Sydney News.
Greendale residents have lodged more than 200 objections to a proposed cemetery that would include 60,000 burial lots. The applicant scaled down its plan from 71,000 lots in a bid to have the cemetery approved. A Menai resident has started an online petition against the federal government's decision to store nuclear waste at Lucas Heights until 2015. Lisa Thomas has also made a flyer about the decision and hopes either the Sutherland Shire Council or a business will pay for it to be printed. Councillor Steve Simpson says he hopes the council will support the campaign, but it needed to be sure that the views of Ms Thomas were shared by the majority of the community. The Hills Council will be forced from its chambers to make way for the Norwest Rail Link. It will move to a building in the Norwest Business Park. Mayor Greg Burnett and General Manager Dave Walker have announced contracts had been exchanged to buy a building in Norwest Business Park. Councillor Burnett says the council will remain debt-free after the purchase, which is expected to be settled by the end of June. Frustrated commuters have named the state's most unsafe and underfunded roads in an NRMA survey. The Northern Road in Londonham, Camden Valley Way in Leppington and the M4 motorway were voted among Western Sydney's worst roads. More than 15,000 people responded to the survey. Other frustrating roads included Parramatta Road at Auburn and the Cumberland Highway at South Wentworthville. The NRMA wants a government plan that sets timeframes and priorities for building and upgrading roads. Quakers Hill businesses have rallied to support a 7-year-old boy who lost his left eye to cancer as a baby and is now fighting to keep the sight in his right eye. Brave Joshua Johansson is undergoing chemotherapy at the Children's Hospital at Westmead. After the local IGA supermarket raised more than $1,000 to help Joshua's family, Shane Casey from Anytime Fitness Centre decided to run a raffle through the Rotary Club of Holroyd to raise funds for a large screen television so Joshua can play his beloved Xbox. Pressure on Blacktown Hospital's emergency department will be relieved when the new GP super clinic is opened. The Eastbrook Medical Practice has been given a $15 million grant from the federal government to expand on a site next to its Main Street premises. The new super clinic will include extra GP consultation and treatment rooms, mental health, dental and optometry services, a gym, Indigenous health clinic and training for medical students. The super clinic will offer bulk billing and extended opening hours until 11 p.m. Arcadia's Hannah Dodd is closer than she has ever been to her ultimate dream. The 20-year-old has been nominated for the equestrian team in this year's Paralympics and says competing is something she has worked towards since seeing the Games in Sydney.
To represent Australia has been a really big goal of mine since I watched the Sydney Paralympics, so to be almost there is just, it's a dream come true. It's a fairy tale ending, all of the really awful cliches, but it really is just its highlight of my life, and it probably will be for a very long time.
Dodd and Kiwi are in the running to compete in the Grade 4 Equestrian, made up of riders with impairment in 1 or 2 limbs or a degree of visual impairment.
We've been preparing for this event for about the last 12 months. I've been training for it, and the last 10 months roughly has been all selection trials since September last year.
She says the relationship with her horse, Way Kiwi, Kiwi for short, is vital to the success of her campaign.
She's a character. She's definitely the boss of the barn with her and her half-brother. Yeah, she's a really good horse to work with. She can be a little temperamental to handle, but she's a real sweetie underneath all the crankiness.
Maryland's high school students were treated to some insider AFL tips when two up-and-coming Greater Western Sydney Giants players visited their school. Kurt Aylett and Rising Star nominee Tom Bugg kicked some footballs and fielded questions from students. Bugg said he's proud of the Giants' successes in this year's season so far and was sure the team's future recruits would come from schools just like Maryland's High.
Personally for me, played 9 games so far, so yeah, just really excited to be a part of the Giants and playing in the team.
He said because it's a new team, it was important for GWS to create a relationship with their future fan base.
Days like this are so important to come out and promote our game and promote the Giants to Sydney, because we're obviously an upcoming club and lots of young kids as well coming through, and we're just trying to promote young physical activity as well, which is a big focus for us.
Castle Hill hosted the first International Natural Bodybuilding Association's City National Finals last Sunday. The event saw athletes from across Australia converge on Castle Hill RSL to compete in bodybuilding, figure, fitness and bikini divisions to decide who will represent Australia at the World Championships in the Czech Republic later this month. Men and women from teenagers to those over 60 competed on the day for medals and cash prizes. Rugby union player Sione Tangi is his opponent's worst nightmare. A student at Maryland's high school leads his teammates from the front like any good prop. The sight of the big 17-year-old leaves opposition teams shaking in their boots. Sione has been selected for the New South Wales combined high school squad after only playing the code for a year. Sione credits his time playing in the Eastwood Colts under-20 side as a major factor in his selection in the squad. When Italians want to predict the future of the Euro Cup, they don't turn to a crystal ball, they just choose a canine. Meet Sabre, the Italian cane corso. He is becoming one of the biggest stars to emerge from the Euro Cup in Western Sydney. This four-legged psychic has been used to predict how the teams will go in the soccer tournament, and he makes his predictions by choosing between two jerseys decorated by the team flags. But Sabre isn't just an ordinary canine. His father and mother were champion dogs in Italy, and they were imported to Australia for breeding.
I was the second breeder in Australia to bring the breed out here. He's a very special dog.
Proving to be multi-talented, the 2.5-year-old canine continues to have strong ties to his ancestry by obeying some commands in Italian. We all remember Paul the octopus, who shot to stardom with a perfect tipping record during the 2010 World Cup. And now, Sabre has just half the shoes to fill. He will predict the 31 games in this year's Euro Cup and has already selected Poland to beat Greece on Saturday when the championships kick off. He also predicted Russia to beat Czech Republic the following week and Italy to clinch a win against reigning world and European champion Spain in round 5. Hundreds of die-hard football fans are expected to watch the games live at Club Marconi, which has been dubbed the home of Euro Cup 2012.
It means a few weeks of madness. A lot of people with red eyes juggling their passion of football coupled with work commitments. For a lot of people, the family's going to have to settle second or third best.
That's all we have time for here at Television Sydney News. For more information, pick up your local Fairfax newspaper. I'm Bianca Martins. I'll see you next time.